when we work with our dreams, we wake up to the reality. We wake up to our own inner selves. We wake up to the greater potentials that exist in our life. Hello and welcome back to Remember Why You're Here, a podcast for seekers and sensitives where you can relax, receive, reconnect to yourself, and remember the most important thing of all, why you're here. I'm Asia Suler, author, earth intuitive, teacher, and in this podcast episode today, we're going to be talking about one of my all-time favorite things, which is dreams. So I've always been a very vivid dreamer ever since I was very young. I can remember having repeated dreams, having precognitive dreams. Dreaming has always just been one of my pipelines into the beyond, into connecting with my own wider knowing and wider self. And dreams, in a lot of ways, really led me into the work that I'm doing today. That through line was something that kept me going even in hard times, or it kept providing clarity for me, giving me direction. And I have been so passionate about dreams for so long that I've now been teaching about dreams for 15 years. I love helping other people connect to their dreams, because even if you're someone who doesn't remember your dreams, you are still dreaming. Dreams are still important for you, and they are the messages that just never stop being sent. Your dreams are always coming with guidance, information. They are here to help you through your life, to navigate your life. And we're going to talk specifically about what dreams actually are in a few minutes. But just know that even if you don't remember your dreams, you are still having them. And so I'm hoping that this episode today is going to help you really get in touch with your dreams. If you're maybe someone who doesn't remember them, or it's hard to sort of get them before they fly in the morning. Or if you're someone who does remember your dreams, this episode is here to help you go even deeper in understanding what your dreams are, what kind of dreams you might be having, and how they can be helpful to you in your life. So let's start with talking about what are dreams, because I think a lot of us were handed this framework for dreams that's inaccurate. So a lot of us were told from a young age that dreams are just the random firing of our mind, that dreams is just the way that our subconscious processes information from the day, that sometimes there's a rhythm to them, but it's really just all about our brain processing extra information, trying to problem solve, and that some dreams are just completely random, that they're just this random firing of our brain, and they're to be ignored, or to sort of be laughed at or looked at with curiosity, but that they're not this font of wisdom that they actually are. So let's talk about what dreams actually are. And there are different types of dreams, and we're going to go into that in a little bit. So I think the different types of dreams are coming from different places within our psyche and within our spirit. But in general, dreams are remembrances of our time outside of our body and outside of physical reality. So they have done studies with people where they were sleep deprived, but only to the point where they weren't dreaming. So they were still able to get, in terms of the time frame, enough sleep within a certain given period to function and all the things. But if they were prevented from going into REM sleep, they started to have mental breakdowns, started to have mental issues and problems. And why I think this is that we are all spirits inhabiting bodies. We come here to be in a physical form, to have this physical experience, but it's built into our system to need time away, to need time to escape, to have experiences in other realms of reality, to leave this reality behind for a little bit, and yes, to process what is happening in this reality, to receive guidance from this unseen world. So when we dream, we're traveling, we're adventuring, we're exploring. And dreams at their heart are remembrances. They're memories of our time in the non-physical world, our time stepping into the other world and stepping out of our day-to-day existence. And I believe that this is why it's so important that we have the time and the space to dream, why it's like essential for our psyches and our functioning. And I also think that this is why it's so valuable to connect to our dreams, because our dreams are a direct pipeline into our wider self. And if you've been walking with me for a while, you know that I prefer the term wider self to higher self, because from my perspective, my higher self is something I'm a part of. It's my wider self. I belong within it. I am a part of it. And remembering your dreams is a direct line to connect into your wider self. So if you are someone who is interested in talking to your higher self, your wider self, receiving guidance from the beyond, connecting with those on the other side of the veil, having this bigger picture of reality, you are getting dreams every night that are giving you that potential, that are opening that doorway for you. And there are techniques and methods for you to be able to really remember those dreams and to start to work with them. No matter what kind of dream you're having, when you interact with your dreams, you're interacting with your own consciousness, and that's powerful. We come here in part to have this experience in a physical body on this planet, but we also come here to know ourselves, to know the shape of our own consciousness, and dreams are a direct pathway to doing that as well. Now, one of the central tenets of dream work, as I see it, is this theory that dreams are these beautifully packaged, storied metaphors of your time outside of this reality, outside of this time and space in this body. And those metaphors and those stories they're perfectly packaged for you, not for anyone else, for you. And this is why dream dictionaries don't necessarily work. And I say this as someone whose dad, as a psychologist, literally edited a dream dictionary when I was growing up. There is validity in the dream dictionary in that there are certain archetypical things that when we dream about them, we might be tapping into a collective consciousness piece. And yet we all have our own life experiences, our the things that are utterly unique to us. So yes, while we might dream about the ocean, and there's certain archetypical understandings of the ocean, depth, the unconscious, the vastness, the mystery, you might have a really particular association with the ocean that cannot be found in a dictionary. And that's really where the vitality comes in our dreams, is you being willing to be your own interpreter of your dreams, to go through your own storied remembrance of your life and ask yourself, what does this mean to me? How does this feel in my body? How did I feel when I woke up from this dream? And all of that is going to give you so much more information than necessarily trying to look up what something means. And that can also be a way that our intuition is going to speak to us. Like, part of us will know she's going to wake up and look up what this means. So let's throw her a wild card and see what comes up. But at the same time, what you don't want to do is give away your power, because you are the interpreter of this dream. It's a perfectly storied metaphor made for you, by you, for you. And there's so much richness there if you can really see yourself as the interpreter of your dreams. One of my teachers, Robert Moss, a shamanic dream teacher, likes to say that dreaming is about waking up. And what this means is that when we work with our dreams, we wake up to the reality. We wake up to our own inner selves. We wake up to the greater potentials that exist in our life. And on a very literal level, if dreams are the remembrances that we have in non-physical reality, then just by remembering them, we're waking up to this knowledge, this awareness that we are spiritual beings on a human journey. I've always loved in people's descriptions of their near-death experience when they talk about the experience of dying as one of waking up, of as if their whole life had been a dream, and then they woke up into a space that was more real than what they were experiencing here. And we all know what that feeling is, right? Like when you wake up from a dream and you're like, oh, thank God, thank God this is my life. Maybe you were having a scary dream or whatever. But when people describe their near-death experiences, they often describe it in this way, as if they woke up from a very long, and yet brief dream. In the moment, it seemed so long when you're inside the dream, right? But then you wake up from it and you're like, oh, that was just a dream. Well, that's the way people describe dying, as waking up into another reality. And so if this is true, then dreaming is about waking up, and that it helps us see that life is this dream. And we are its co-creators. We are constantly being sent messages and stories that are specifically for us to interpret and understand. And that's incredibly empowering. And this is the thing that I love about dreams as an access point, is that it's accessible to all of us, that all of us dream, that all of us have this ability. We do it every single night. And it's almost like this doorway that never closes, that's always open for us to actually remember who we are and be guided. So let's talk about kinds of dreams now, because there are a lot of different kinds of dreams. And the more you work with your dreams, the more you're going to be able to really feel out those textures. So there are dreams where you're just processing your day. And I say just as if that's not also miraculous and magnificent, but you'll kind of know them because they will contain elements from your day. You'll be able to actually look at it and see, my brain was trying on different scenarios and different options with this. They don't normally have a feeling of big profundity or depth. Like if you wake up, it will almost feel like, waking up after watching a sitcom or something. You're like, okay, so I was processing these pieces from my day, and that's valuable. That's helpful. We know for a fact that our brains need that time, and that this is how we learn. This is how we integrate memories and process experiences. If we don't have enough time to sleep and specifically go into that REM cycle, then we don't get the time to complete a lot of memory making, story making, sense making processes in our brain. So you will often know it's a processing dream about your day because you will recognize elements from it. You will sort of wake up with this, more mundane perhaps feeling about the dream. And that doesn't mean that these are to be ignored. These small dreams are still important. And in fact, I think writing dreams down is the absolute best thing you can do for holding on to and understanding the content of a dream. And I say this as a mother to a 3-year-old currently, and I used to write down my dreams every single morning, several dreams every single morning. And now I'm really lucky if I write down one a week, if I remember one a week, because, I used to have time and space to really remember them. And now my day starts out 100 miles per hour. And yet I know this is a phase and it's not going to last forever. And I try to do what I can still to capture them. So if that means really repeating the details again and again to myself until I have the time to write it down, or the next best option is to literally verbally say the dream out loud. So if I have to hop in the car in the morning and I don't have time to write them down, I will literally speak the dream out loud, record myself speaking the dream out loud. And I often find that then it's stored in my brain in a similar way as if I had written it down. But what I find time and time again is that even with these smaller, more mundane dreams, when you write them down, you can start to actually slow down enough to receive the message. And it's so, I have been writing my dreams down now for 20 years, and it's so amazing to me how I will think I've understood the message, and then I'll write it down, and so much more will come through. And so I really encourage you to write down your dreams if possible in writing them down. After you write them down, give it a title so you can find it again. It also sort of helps create more of a storied framework of what actually stands out to you from the dream. And then free associate themes at the bottom. Write down themes that are coming up for you. And what I will find is that I will often have different but similar themes come up within periods of time in my life. And I might not even realize until I go back and look at it that, oh, those dreams all were of a similar theme. I was working with a similar type thing. So these are processing dreams. We all have them. They're so helpful. They're part of how we function as human beings. Then there's also dreams that I consider remembrances outside of your physical body. So I think all dreams are remembrances of work that you're doing, stuff that you're engaging in outside of obviously being awake and being in a body. But I think that there are some dreams that are very specifically remembrances of experiences that you are having in non-physical reality. And it's a gift when we get these kinds of dreams. And I think they can come in a lot of different forms. But I have had dreams where I am with a teacher who's teaching me specific things, including spiritual teachers teaching me different spiritual tools, techniques. You might have had a dream where maybe you were in school and yet it wasn't like a school that you recognize here. It was a night school. Maybe you were with other souls learning something in particular. I have also had kind of wild dreams where it really feels as if I have stepped into like almost another planet or another stream of consciousness, like a whole other set of rules to that reality on, yeah, another planet or in a storyline that's like completely different from my life. And those are kind of fun because I feel like I can recognize them because there's not an element of charge around whatever the storyline is. And I come back and I'm like, how interesting. I literally feel like I just like experienced this sci-fi experience. And your feelings when you wake up, they are going to direct you towards what kind of dream you've had and what the content is for you to explore. And if you wake up from a dream that's even pretty wild, but you feel pretty neutral, you can probably guess that that's actually a remembrance of you having an adventure outside of your body. And it's not even necessarily like that's information you technically need right now in your life, although you can still gather gems from it. But they're almost like you're remembering the entertainment that you undertook when you left your body for a little bit that night. And so those can be really fun. Now, I also think there's a class of dreams, and I would call them big dreams. And these are more like soul level communications. So I know I mentioned this idea of night school in this other category of just, kind of these remembrances of entertainment that you've had outside of your body. But, really anytime you have a dream where you wake up from it and you think, wow, like something about that felt big. I feel a lot of movement inside of me. I feel a lot of charge. Pay attention. And it's these soul level dreams that are always the dreams that we're all wanting and waiting for, right? And they don't happen every night. And that's okay. But when these big dreams do happen, they can literally change the course of our life if only we slow down enough to listen to them. So this could be a dream where you're communicating with a teacher, where you're met by a loved one. I actually have had a lot of dreams with people who have passed, specifically people who are connected to people I love who've passed. And this is one thing I do want to mention because especially if you've lost someone really close to you, it can feel really upsetting if they're not visiting you in your dreams or you haven't seen them. And it can feel like, well, are they still there? Is there something wrong with me? And what I have found as someone who does experience these type of visitations from the other side is that most often the people who are coming to visit me from the other side are not directly connected to me, or if they are directly connected to me, the communication normally only happens after they've had a period of time of integration on the other side. And that's like the only way I could describe it is that they've gone through a period of integration enough that they can then expend the energy to come communicate with me. So be open to that. Be open to that, that you might have your loved one come in a dream, but you might have someone else's loved one come to your dreams. And that, I have even found over time that over, for example, like the 20 years that my grandfather has been passed, that I will get periodic updates on how he's doing on the other side. And it always comes in at a time too, where it's helpful for me or helpful for my dad and helpful in our growth too. So these dreams are possible. These dreams happen a lot. Other big dreams are big creative dreams. So a lot of people have talked about the idea that whatever their incredible groundbreaking invention is or creation, that it first came through in a dream. For example, I remember reading that Paul McCartney said that the song Yesterday, an iconic song, came to him in a dream. What I find really funny about this story, though, is that it came to him in the dream as a melody, and he didn't quite catch the words, and so he wrote down the title at first as Scrambled Eggs instead of Yesterday. And I think that this is just such a funny story and example too of how sometimes these creation dreams will come in, that we have this big idea of an invention, a creation, a life path, whatever it is, and it will take some interpreting, that it will come in, it'll be there, it'll be this package, and yet we do also need to add that layer of filtering it through our day-to-day mind to really understand what is actually coming through. Like, I think Paul McCartney knew that the song wasn't going to be about scrambled eggs. But that was the stand-in until he had that time to really piece through that. That these big inspirations are coming in, they're being downloaded by our wider self, our soul, our guides. And if you pay attention to your dreams, this might be a kind of dream that you have. There are also precognitive dreams. So I have dreamt about people before I've met them, dreamt about things that have happened before they've come to pass. I've been teaching about dreams for so many years now, too, that I've heard so many stories of people also having precognitive dreams, including precognitive dreams of loved ones passing, of accidents happening. Sometimes if you were a kid who had precognitive dreams, it could have been something that scared you. And because of that, sometimes we shut down when we have precognitive dreams, especially when we're younger, when we don't understand that we're actually just sort of peering past linear time, and that we didn't cause that to happen, that it's not our fault, and that in fact, my understanding of precognitive dreams is that we're often shown those dreams not to change the future, but just to give us a heads up so that we have the ability to meet it with more grace. So if you've ever had a precognitive dream and afterwards maybe had a hard time with, why didn't I do something? Why didn't I change something? Like, I just really want you to know that this is my understanding of precognitive dreams, that there are certain things that we cannot change, but given time to prepare for, we can just meet with more flexibility and understanding and grace. Now, I talked a lot just now about like big precognitive dreams, but you can also have small precognitive dreams, like just little dreams about what might happen that day. And those can be cool too, because often those dreams, which almost function as a little bit of deja vu, are often confirmation that you're on the right path. You're doing the right thing. This is where you're supposed to be. And then there are healing dreams. So you can receive healing in your dreams, and your dreams will also often be guides helping you figure out what you need in order to heal. So when I first started studying plants, I would often dream about the Latin name of a plant. It would come to me in a dream, and I'd have to look it up because I didn't know them all. At that point, I was really learning them, and I'd often be surprised. I'd be like, oh, it's this plant, and whoa, that plant makes so much sense for what I'm physically dealing with right now, or what I'm emotionally dealing with right now. I've also had experiences of direct healing through dreams. Like, I had an experience when I contracted Lyme disease of a direct healing that happened inside of a dream. These dreams are profound gifts when they come, and it's not going to be every day, but I'm bringing it up because I want you to be open to the possibility that what you're experiencing in a dream might actually be a healing, or might actually be an avenue of healing for you, and to pay attention to how you feel when you wake up, what's inside your body, your psyche, your mind when you wake up from those dreams, because it's here to guide you. You know, I think all dreams are healing in this capacity, and when we work with them, it's like we give them permission to actually root in. And this healing can come in a lot of different ways. You know, talking about the remembrances or dreams as remembrances, I've also had dreams that I'm pretty convinced are past life experiences where I am someone else entirely, but that person is very, very, very familiar to me, and my entire life story is different. I've had very vivid dreams from certain time periods with certain historical detail that I've been able to look up afterwards and confirm. Detail that I just would not have known in my day-to-day life for any reason. And so be open to that possibility too, that if you have dreams that are taking place in other time periods, or you seem to be an entirely different person, that this could also be a past life remembrance. And those are often coming up to help us with whatever we're dealing with now, to understand maybe some of the patterns that we're holding, some of the tricky stuff that seems to not shift no matter how much we try to address it. Sometimes these are rooted in other lifetimes, and these dreams can really help us work with that. And the final type of dream I want to talk about is my favorite type of dream, Favorite because it's so straightforward. And I call them text message dreams. And these are dreams where you get like very specific downloads about what to do. Like, go here, do this, don't do that, break up with him, whatever it is. And these dreams also don't happen all the time. But when they do happen, and if they've happened for you, when they do happen, it's like this clarity piece of like, okay, here we go. That's what I'm supposed to do. And if you could take anything away from this episode, it's this: heed the text message dreams. Listen to what the text message is saying, because when it comes in with that kind of clarity, that's important. It was important enough that it was formed into a very direct message for your unconscious to deliver to you. Now, most dreams won't be text message dreams like that, but if you do get a text message dream and you heed it, what I often find is that you will then have more dreams. And this is the thing about dreams. If you want to remember more dreams, if you want to work more with dreams, if you want more guidance dreams, more dreams, big dreams like I was just talking about, these soul level experience in your dreams, then you need to court them. And in courtship, right, we receive what is being given. We relish even the smallest little things, we treasure them. It's like if your beloved gave you a rose petal, you would treasure that, right? Because you're in this courtship, you want to get to know them more. Well, the same is true for dreams. And so if you want to remember more of your dreams, here are some tips to do that. The first thing is going to be to write down whatever you remember first thing in the morning. Even if you can't remember a whole dream, write down whatever is there. Is it a feeling? Is it a song? Is it a song lyric? Is it a word? Is it a color? Even if it's super subtle, writing that down is signaling to your brain that you want to remember more of these dreams, because this is what we're talking about. We know actually through research that everybody dreams. You dream every single night, multiple times a night. It's just about communicating to your brain and to your waking mind that these are important, that this is information you want to hold on to and remember. And how do we do that? How do we signal our brain to do that? Well, we start by asking our brain to attune to the details. So writing down whatever is there, taking that time first thing in the morning to do that. Another thing that is really, really helpful is giving yourself time when you wake up, if at all possible, if you are a parent of a little one. This just might not be in the cards for you right now, but maybe you're someone who, feels like you have the capacity to set an alarm for a little bit earlier than your little one wakes up and have that time. I often find that I remember my dreams a lot more when I have a series of alarms. So if you have to be up at a certain time, set a series of alarms, 15 minutes apart for the 45 minutes before that. And will have a much greater likelihood of remembering your dreams if you have those periods of waking up and then going back to sleep. And to add on to that, to even create more potential surface area for you to remember your dreams, when you wake up, linger in that state for as long as possible. This is called a hypnopompic state. It's the state where we're waking up or we're rising into consciousness. And this is really that turning point time when you can either remember your dreams or just let it float out of your brain. And so the more you let yourself rest in a hypnopompic state as you're waking up, just let yourself rest there. Try not to think about your day. If possible, try not to launch into your day, unless you have a toddler pulling your hair, but you rest there if you can. And a lot more will have the ability to come back if you rest there. And if nothing comes back, that's fine. Don't go down a stressful rabbit hole with this. Just think of it as like quiet time in which you're actually meditating before you start your day, and you're meditating in this open state to see what might come. And you can also really let your dreams know that you're courting them, that you want to be in greater conversation if you practice dream invocation. So dream invocation is where you have an intention for your dreams, where you're asking to get a certain kind of guidance, clarity, perspective. My favorite way to do dream invocation is to write it down on a piece of paper or in my journal right before I go to bed. So to write that down right before I go to bed and put it on my bedside table, and really, as I'm falling asleep, like really focus on that invocation, really focus on, what I want to receive, ask for it again and again, keep it in my mind, just hold it there if I can, and then have that right on my bedside table. And when I first wake up in the morning, write down whatever is there. And what I have often found is that even if I wake up and think, okay, my question was not answered, I don't know what that was. If I write it down, I'll start to see that there is actually an answer in there, that there is a thread. And if you have a really big question in your life, ask it more than once. Set the intention several days in a row. Because what you're doing is you're signaling to your consciousness that this is important, that you're willing to take the time and the energy you need to focus on this. And if you keep asking, you will receive an answer. And if you practice the things that I talked about, setting those extra alarms, giving yourself time to rest as you are in this hypnopompic state, as you come up into wakefulness, writing down whatever is there as fast and as quickly as you can, maybe not fast, but, catching it while it's fresh, catching it in the morning, if at all possible. I definitely have written down dreams later in the day at night, but it's a different quality than writing them down first thing. You're going to be able to catch a lot more. If you can't write them down, try voice notes. And this works particularly well if you are someone who wakes up in the middle of the night and you remember a dream. Get your phone, leave yourself a little voice note about what you just experienced. And when I do this and I listen to them again, I'm often blown away by what I was dreaming about, because I will have completely forgotten about it, or I will have forgotten 90% of the detail. And so if you practice these pieces, your dream invocation will just get stronger and stronger and stronger. And you can start to use your dreams as a kind of oracle. You can use your dreams as a source of guidance to really direct you in your life, and not only direct you in the decisions that you're here to make, or, the big steps that you're contemplating, but dreams will also download into your body, into your energy system, a greater sense of your own soul and your own capacity. You'll start to feel more and more and more like you are awake inside the dream of your day-to-day life. Like you're able to see yourself more as the creator of your existence, and really step into that empowering piece of I am here to co-create my life, that none of this is happening to me, it's all happening for me, and that I am invited into this as a co-creator, and I'm excited to be a part of this dream. So if you are getting excited about dreams and dream work and the idea of working more deeply with your dreams, especially in connection with the living world, with plants, with the earth, is something that's calling to you, then definitely stay tuned for the Intuitive Plant Medicine sale that I'm running next week. Intuitive Plant Medicine is my longest running course. I think this will be the 9th year that I'm running it. And it is the place where I've taught most in depth about dreams, along with many other things, including, working with plant allies, on the body treatments, land healing, flower essences, channeling, ancestral plant work. And in Intuitive Plant Medicine, we go even deeper into how to dream with plants, how to work with your dreams in conjunction with communicating with the living world, of receiving guidance from the living world. We talk more about plants for dreaming, which is a whole nother topic, and one I'd be super excited to get into another time. But if any of this is interesting to you, then definitely stay tuned for that, because that sale is going to be the biggest sale I've ever run on Intuitive Plant Medicine, and that's happening next week. And if you are someone who has had big dreams, or if you're listening to this and you're like, I have questions about dreams, I would love to hear them. Leave me a voice message. I have an answering machine over on my website at asiasuler.com/remember. And I just think talking about dreams is one of the most delightful things ever. And if there's enough interest, then we'll definitely do another episode about dreams, because there's just so much richness here. There's so much to talk about. And speaking of dreams, or things that are dreamy, or things that are dreamlike, it has been so dreamy for me to receive your feedback, to see your reviews, to read them, to hold them close to my heart. They're like a little light on dark nights. And I've been so honored by all of your ratings, all your reviews, all your feedback. And if you are loving this podcast and you want to make a little dream for me a reality, I would love it if you left me a review, or if you rated this podcast. It really helps this podcast reach more people. I've already seen this literally in action, reaching the right people, reaching the people that I like dearly want to be in contact with, that I want to be in connection with, and that are part of this community. And so if you have the time and the space to do that, it would be dreamy for me. And I would thank you so much. So I often find that just by talking about dreams, we signal to our consciousness that we're ready to remember them, that we're ready to work with them more, that we want bigger dreams. So I want you to know that just by listening to this podcast today, you have set that in motion, that you are reconnecting to your dreams. And to say that piece too, that we go through seasons in life, seasons when we are really connected and seasons when things are just busier. But I want you to know that this is the doorway that never closes. It's always open. It's always there for you. It will be there for you when you have the time and the space again. And if you're listening to this podcast, then it's probably because that doorway is beckoning to you now, and you have the tools that you need to begin connecting and to begin dreaming big. So until next time, may your dreams be deep, may they be wild, may they guide you, and may they bring you into connection with the most important thing of all, remembering why you're here.